Miss Jennifer.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. How is our boy?
Great.
Erik?
Fantastic.
I love you.
Says I love you too. He was teasing me. He said, well, you said you're doing great, so I have to be doing better than great.
There we go. All right. Well, I like that. I like the sound of that. All right. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about crime in the USA and defunding the police movement. Now, one thing I will say is that it seems like Erik and Jennifer that we are moving into this period of unifying people, and unifying them mostly for like freedom. I mean, this COVID thing has really gotten us, with the mandates and mask, vaccine mandates and mask mandates, that everybody seems to be rising up and fighting against the establishment, the man, the elite. And we see that in school, in parents versus school boards too. We see it with the Canadian trucker movement. We see it in Germany. We see it in France. We see it in Australia. Well, I don't know about Australia, but that will come soon probably. But we're not seeing people rise up and demand, something be done about the explosion of crime in some of these big cities. It's mostly Democrat led for some reason. So why is that not happening? Will that happen? Will people rise up? I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm, sitting in this she shed all the time. I don't have my pitchfork and torch out.
So, yes, he says eventually it's that whole pendulum swing. Some of this with the crime does need to be happening to shine light on some political stuff that has gone on for years, some cultural stuff that's gone on for years. And so it's swinging the other way, where maybe in some areas it's a little too lenient right now, and it will bring it back. It will come back to center. Yes. So people will, stuff's going to start happening where,
Good.
People are maybe keep getting let go, and then they murder somebody. So there's going to be more and more of that kind of stuff where somebody's let out 5, 6, 7 times, and then a major crime is committed. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time to find the right equilibrium, he says.
Yeah.
Because it can't go back to how it was. Something does have to change. And so his words, in order sometimes for change, stuff needs to be a shit show for a bit.
Yeah, it's too bad. Well, many years ago, Erik, you and I did a session on the penal code, and we both agreed that, it's pretty much about penalizing, protecting the public, of course, but punishing instead of rehabilitating.
Yes.
Now, I believe that everybody deserves a second chance, but that doesn't mean they get off on bail and they can run over a Christmas parade, right away. So there has to be a balance. And
Yes.
you have to honor each human being's dignity and help them, but keep them locked up so that until they seem like they're going to be okay.
So he does say for that, not everybody can be rehabilitated, plain and simple. There's just it just can't be done.
It might be in their contract to stay behind bars all their lives.
Yes. And the problem is that anytime you have a system that's this large, it doesn't really look at the individual. It's a blanket. This is what we should do. This is what we should do. And it's not a great system. It's not,
no.
But it's better than nothing. It's got to be adjusted and worked on, which is what is going to happen because of all the chaos right now.
Yeah.
It'll be adjusted. So it's interesting. The defunding of the police is a very controversial thing. But he's saying that in some cases, there will be more money to put towards the rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation of who?
Of the criminals.
Or the police.
Criminals.
Some police officers rehabilitated too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the problem really is is a financial situation. There's only so much money allocated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in order to help in one area, the money has to come from someplace else.
Yeah.
And so that's what it doesn't look pretty, but the intent behind it is actually good.
Right.
But it doesn't always work out the way we had hoped.
Yeah. Who's responsible really for the thought process of defunding the police? One person asks here. I mean, what is their
Who's
agenda?
responsible for
Yeah.
it?
What is their agenda?
So there's
It could be a collective. It
yeah,
could
it's
be an
there's
individual
definitely
like George
yes,
Soros. It could be a collective
it's
like
not
the
an
Democratic
individual. It's
Party or the
yes,
left.
it's definitely a collective. But it's more so if I had to assign it to a party, it is more like the Democratic Party, but it's and I don't my knowledge of politics is not great, but it's not necessarily the politicians. Erik is saying it's like a advocacy group.
Oh.
I don't know the name of it though.
And I don't think it's the entire Democrat Party. I think that,
No.
each Republican Party and the Democrat Party each have their corrupt global elite. And so
Oh yes.
maybe that's what we're dealing with, the corrupt global elite instigating this. And if so, why?
So again, Erik is saying that there is some good intention behind the theory of it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not
all
that
bad.
it's not all bad. No,
Okay.
not that there aren't corrupt people involved in this movement, because honestly, any movement, anything, there's corrupt people involved in it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of across the board. But the initial intention and some of the intention underlying is actually good. Intention's a big deal. It's just that intention isn't always at the forefront of what happens.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes,
All right, here's
exactly.
somebody from Denver. What do you call those? Denverites?
No idea.
Why do they think the world would be a better place without police? I mean, some people want to abolish the police. I'm having a hard time understanding this. Crime in Denver is high.
Yeah, so yes, and definitely the world would not be a better place without police. We need checks and balances,
Yeah.
basically. Why do some people, because some people truly live in a vacuum of we could govern ourselves, we could police ourselves, and it's an idealistic concept that does not work on Earth.
It's not.
Erik is like, it does not work here.
Oh. Philadelphia has had over 900 murders last year. Why are so many innocents being killed? Maybe not all of them are innocents.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, yes.
Why? Why this huge increase everywhere?
So this has to do with the chaos that is happening on Earth right now. The shit show that has to happen before we raise the vibration.
Right.
So Erik is saying, and he said this earlier, but I didn't get it out fast enough. He said, remember, humans, it's very dense there. It takes a lot to learn and change. It takes a lot for actual growth. Yeah. Growth on a personal basis is much easier. Even for humans, it's much easier to grow on a personal basis than it is to try to grow an entire race.
Yeah.
And so it has to look pretty bad. And so, yes, there are going to be more murders. There's going to be more crime. There's in order to get us to where we say, okay, enough, we have to make real change.
Well, why are we seeing these big crime spikes in these, even Austin and Houston, in these red states? I think they're led by the Democrat, these cities, but still, why? What's going on? Why these big spikes? Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore.
There is a connection to the whole thing with COVID and the whole lockdown and supply chain issues and people just losing their shit, so to speak. I'm very sweary today, as many of you know. I'm not usually. I'm just like, all right, just bring it in. Good. So it's like a pressure cooker. It's like we've been in a pressure cooker for the last couple of years, and you hate to see it, but it's like people are doing stuff and then it's like mob mentality and other people are like, fine, I'll just do this. People are feeling desperate.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just like he's saying, a pressure cooker, and you're starting to see all this stuff happening.
Oh gosh. What about this shoplifting? Why is that happening? And this person from San Francisco, I guess, will San Francisco shoplifting end?
That's the
Smash and grab.
mass shopliftings, right? Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just a bunch
smash
of
and grab,
people.
yeah.
It will end eventually, but
How?
honestly, right now he's saying people will just get tired of doing it, or shopkeepers are going to start shooting people.
Mm,
People
be.
are
They should have armed
people are going to get upset, or people will see it happening and go in, and there will be deaths before it's over.
That's too bad. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no incentive not to do it.
There's
really.
no incentive not to do it right now, but
I
there
mean,
will
the police
be.
are saying, don't stop
Yep.
them. Let
Don't
them
stop
do
them.
stuff.
Yes.
And they don't get charged unless they, or even arrested unless they shoplift a certain amount, right?
Yeah. No, Eric is saying people are going to start defending. People are going to start defending, or people passersby are going to see it happening and start taking people out.
Wow.
Yep.
Vigilantes, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So will they change the law so that there are consequences for any kind of shoplifting?
Yeah. So interesting. He just said that after the midterm elections,
Okay.
you'll see laws starting to change.
More hard on crime policies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But still,
Yeah.
hopefully, rehabilitation where possible. All right,
Yes.
here's a long paragraph. I live on the border of St. Paul and Minneapolis. Since the defund the police movement started, crime has just skyrocketed here in the Twin Cities. Many officers have quit, resigned, or retired, and new recruitment is at an all-time low. What that has converted to is 35 homicides in St. Paul and 96 homicides in Minneapolis in 2021. There are carjackings now in every area of town, even in the nicer areas, even in broad light. Two so far had children taken with the car. If your car gets stolen in the Twin Cities, even if you know where it is by tracking, you are on your own. They will not help you get it back because they are understaffed. I say all of this because to say, yes, it is good that police brutality finally has a much needed and long overdue light illuminating the issue. Yes, because Eric, you were the victim of unjust police brutality, which may have led to other officers upholding higher ethical and moral standards. The sad thing is many criminals know the response is usually slow and they get away with more crimes than usual. Everyone has to be more careful. I guess my question is, what would a solution for the highest good of all look like?
A solution for the highest good of all is, well, unfortunately, to get there is going to be more people taking the law into their own hands.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to happen. And then, well, what it's going to look like is more enforcement again. Unfortunately, more police officers, more law enforcement, but with less tolerant police brutality. So, but we're a ways from that. I mean,
Have we
truly
made
holding
a dent in police brutality at all, Eric, with this movement? I mean, certainly some good in that.
Yeah. Yes.
From, right?
Yes. Yeah. There has been. There
Uh-huh.
has been, but it's, I like the economic stuff. It's that unforeseen, whatever, I can't think of it, but you think this is going to be great, so we're going to do this, and all these other unforeseen consequences.
Right.
Which is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Okay. So while the intention may have been initially in the right place, now we're having to deal with the consequences of what that actually means.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story. A few decades ago, we had a little boat in this marina, and we had a friend there named Captain Bear. He had a catamaran, and this was in Kima, I think. Anyway, he was in the line to for the ATM in his car. He had a really nice Jaguar or something. And this guy comes up with a knife and says, "Give me your money in your car." And I said, no, it's my money and it's my car. He said, sucker, I got a knife. He goes, oh, really? I got a gun. Boom, boom. Killed him.
Yeah.
Shot him in the face. And he
Mhm.
did not get charged, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
And I am, none of us are recommending taking the law into
Oh
your own
God,
hands,
no.
but this is, you're
But
gonna see
give
more of
them the
this.
money in the car
Yes,
and
yes,
then
but you
track
are
them
gonna see
down
more
and
of that.
shoot them where you can't be seen shooting. No, I'm kidding. I mean, don't do that either. I love vigilante movies, so you got to watch out.
Yeah.
I love all right, like the one, the Jodie Foster one. Oh my God. Brave, I think it's Brave one or something. Really good. All right. Will there be an uptick on exposing and punishment of prosecutors and judges who repeatedly allow violent criminals on the street? You know, what I think is some of these guys who actually let these violent criminals out and they shoot a child, for example, they ought to be criminally responsible.
Mhm.
I mean, I really think they should be criminally, just like parents who have guns in the house with a mentally ill child and the child shoots students in the school, they ought to be criminally responsible too. There's no accountability in the world anymore. So
No,
anyway, so will there be an uptick on holding these prosecutors and judges responsible?
yes, but the laws will have to change first.
Okay.
Right now, the laws don't necessarily support that being able to happen. But yes, it will eventually get to that. Yes.
Vote them out. That's about all
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a three-tiered thing. You got the police officers, you've got the mayor, like Eric Adams, and you got the whole prosecutorial and judicial system. And you know, Eric Adams, you know, wants to decrease crime, but he, you know, his hands are tied because of these very lenient prosecutors and judges.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to take time and there's going to have to be exposure on what actually has to happen. And unfortunately, a lot of times still the politicians are a little out of touch with what is actually happening. So
well,
it's
maybe if
easy
they had
to,
one of their children shot
yes,
or carjacked, maybe they would probably have a change of heart. But like Bragg, the prosecutor or attorney general, I don't know, I can't remember what he is. He is just letting people out. It's just, he has, you know, he just doesn't believe in prosecuting people, I guess.
yeah.
So what is he thinking now, knowing that his decision has led to a lot of deaths? Does he think, is he aware of that?
Complete denial, Eric says. Complete denial, hiding behind the laws or hiding behind the rules or hiding behind what other people want.
Ivory Tower, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Is the USA, some of these maybe repeats, is the USA going to start having stiffer penalties for violent crime? Yeah, when is that going to happen? You indicated maybe after November?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And this, is this movement the collapse of social constructs? Ooh, interesting.
Is this movement the collapse? Well, Eric says it looks like it could be, but it won't be.
Okay. I think hopefully what we're seeing is a collapse of the system, like the banking system, the global elites, the
Yes.
military industrial complex, the, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, these like Trudeau being so authoritarian,
Yes.
dictatorial, really. And anyway, does this open the door to corporate backing of police and a rise in corruption?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. Is any of this unrest purposely caused by the government to divide and conquer people?
Yes. Yes, there is very much a look over here. Eric is saying, look over here, pay attention to this so you don't pay attention to this. Yes.
What are they trying to detract from?
Well, with their crimes, with their their illegal dealings and the monies that they're getting and what they're doing with, there's, like the corruption over there. It's like, pay attention to this so you don't see our corruption over here.
Gosh. Well, the summer of love, all the horrible riots in that summer. A lot of people think that George Soros sponsored a lot of those, but is that true? That seems like a bit much.
Yeah, no, he's saying that's not really the case.
Okay. What can be done about gun control?
What can be done about gun control?
Seems like the horse is out of the barn. I don't know.
Yeah, as Eric is saying right now, really not much. Not much. It's one of those situations where the government basically knows that they have to tread lightly, because how many people in the United States have guns that, and everybody always is worried that their guns are getting taken away.
Yeah.
So right now, that's not the main issue. Maybe tightening up some of the laws that are there, he said, but it'll be done very gently.
Gently, yeah.
Yes.
That's a problem, because that's in the Bill of Rights, the right to bear arms. And
Yes.
but I think that at least maybe they should limit the type of, because I don't think the Bill of Rights said you can have a machine gun, okay?
Yes.
An Uzi. So I think that we need to restrict the type.
Yeah, there definitely will be eventually, but Eric is very adamant that this is not really the time to do it. I know it seems like it probably should be, but people are too on the edge. And if you start taking the guns right now, I'm not sure what just flew by, if that was an orb or
I think I saw something too.
What just flew past there.
What was that, Eric? Was that you?
It happened so fast. I was like, was that, I felt like it was an orb, but who knows? It could be.
It must have been.
Yes. So
he's done that before. One time a red orb just flew across one of me face.
So right now he says it's not the time, and anything that does happen will be very gentle.
And it means, of course, maybe we should have psychological testing before anybody can buy a gun, and make sure that parents know that if they have a gun, they're responsible if their kid is mentally ill, diagnosed with a mental illness.
Yes.
And, or to keep them locked up, things like that. It's just common stuff. Things. Now, taking everybody's gun away, I don't know if that's a good idea, because look what happened in Norway, in that one island where these young people were having a retreat, and the security guy only had a bully stick, and that guy just came and mowed down so many young people. The bad guys have the guns,
Yes.
And so there was no way for them to defend themselves at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my husband has a gun locked up. It took a long time for him to buy a gun after Eric's death, but he has it locked up in a safe fingerprint.
Yes. Yeah.
And because, he wants to protect his home. So that's his decision.
Yeah.
What purpose does defunding the police have? I don't know. Did we already answer that?
Well, I mean, the purpose is to shine light on the broken system. That's
brutality, mostly.
Yes, and to change the system.
Yeah.
So that the system really is broken. I mean, if you are somebody who does not have means, and you commit a crime that somebody with money has. I mean, it really is it's a broken system, and so it does need to be looked at and shined a light on. But unfortunately, like Eric said, anytime there's real change that's going to happen on Earth, it's going to be rocky getting through it. It's going to be a shit show. To create real change.
It's so complicated. There's so many nuances and layers, because you got to help those who are bent to become criminals, or that are criminals. Make sure people are well educated, make sure their opportunities are there to rise from poverty, all these things. Make sure there are community centers, outlets for young people, help those who are on drugs. I mean, it's just, there's so many facets to this. And I think that's why it's going to be like turning a big ship. It's going to go very slowly.
It is.
What is the spiritual purposes of the craziness we are witnessing with the defund the police movement? Okay, we kind of.
To raise us all, to move us all into the next.
Okay, there's a theory that policing diverts billions of dollars from school, healthcare, and other vital programs that need more funding to strengthen our community and support shared well-being. The thing that I thought was important. Is this actually true? Would defunding the police actually result in those billions of dollars being diverted to those other programs?
So again, like Eric was saying before, yeah, when you take money away from something,
Yeah,
there's
like you
more
were saying.
money for other things.
Right.
So yes, but how does that money get filtered through? Where does some of that money end up that doesn't actually help? Whose pockets is it going to? Yeah, there's definitely corruption there too.
Yeah, so little of the school taxes go to the actual student and
Yeah.
teachers. A lot of it goes to the hands of the administration, and sometimes those that are up there, they're part of the global elite, so it's a problem. It's like sending aid to Nicaragua. It probably just goes into the cartels there, or the corrupt politicians, etc. So it's a problem helping people with money. Okay, in the near future, we are moving toward decentralized. Are we moving toward decentralized community-based public services? The police seem to have long since forgotten that they work for us, not for corrupt governments.
Yes, and so there's going to be also I mean, honestly, this would be a good time to get into like personal security or opening up a security a security firm, this sort of thing. But again, that's going to be something that's going to help the wealthy. But yes, we are moving towards that.
So do you think that in the future you're going to see less reliance on the police and more on security guards, armed security and such?
Yeah, if the government doesn't do something different, yes.
Okay, what's up with this one? I can't remember her name, that wants to empty out all the prisons in New York. And I bet she has armed guards protecting her, but
what Eric is saying about this is an attention grab. She doesn't really mean it. It's to get attention.
And the hypocrisy is terrible, because the defund the police movement, the people who support that very often, like I just said, have security guards, armed guards.
Yes.
Okay. I don't get it. Will they ever train cops to respond in a more humanitarian way instead of shoot first being the first instinct? And that reminds me of, I think it was a Burger King or Whataburger, I can't remember, Burger King incident where the guy was drunk and his car was in the parking lot. Anyway, he ended up being shot in the back, after being tased and stuff. Instead of just saying, hey, dude, you need to sleep it off. Why don't we take you home and then we'll help you pick up your car later?
Yeah, so
that's what this person is talking about.
There will be more training like that as far as how to, relate in that way. However, what Eric is saying, which actually makes total sense to me, is that the people in general, these are general terms, the people who have the mentality to be police officers, to be out there, to put their life on the line, to be willing to, step into who knows what, are not necessarily the most empathic, nurturing, it's like a survival mode. So the people who are very empathic and may be able to relate to the person and understand and they're not wanting to be out there. Do you know what I'm
machismo? Yeah, I think the guy who beat up Erik, I think he probably got bullied in middle school, for example. I bet you anything. So
for somebody who's super empathic, like myself, like you are, we couldn't do that job. We couldn't. Police officers see people at their worst moments.
Yeah.
And for people who are very empathic, who may be light workers and can help people heal, and it would be too much. So it's not like the same kind of personality. Police can be trained to assess the situation and have some psychological training to help with stuff.
But role playing in different scenarios, that's what they probably need. But there's so many scenarios, and we have to definitely mention the fact that being a policeman or policewoman is very very difficult, and it's scary, and you know, your family doesn't know if you're going to come home that night or in the
Mhm.
morning. So hats off to those who do step into, sometimes have the bravery, the courage to
Yes.
step into violent situations and put their life on the line.
Yes.
So I
And
just want to say that.
yeah, and oftentimes they have only split seconds to assess
Yeah.
a situation.
Would shrinking police responsibilities and shifting some of what government does to keep us safe to other entities that are better equipped to meet those needs, like mental health professionals, social workers, mediators, and housing specialists, be moving in the right direction for our nation? This is again like the shifting of funds to different resources, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, it would be. It would be. But again, that's one of those things where that's if a police officers are called to a situation, this is not, you don't send a social worker into, if you get a call to a home that there's some violence going on, you don't send a social worker and you don't know what the situation is. So there still needs to be police as the first level.
First line of defense. Yeah, I want it as my first. Okay, I want plenty of
Yes.
police in my area. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, then if if the situation is handled, then send in the social workers, mental health
Correct. Yes. So,
professionals, et cetera. But yeah, of
from
course.
that initial situation, maybe a lot of stuff could be put off to social workers, counselors, this sort of thing, rather than to jail and to the system like
Yes.
that.
Right,
Yes.
right. Unless they're violent criminals, obviously.
Yes.
It's like the one where the two officers went to respond to a 911 call from a mother, and the son killed both of them. Yeah, eventually they both died here recently. Just shot him from,
Yeah.
had guns in his bedroom. So you can't put a social worker in that situation.
No.
All right. In general, are people no longer fearful of the consequences for illegal activities?
There's definitely less fearfulness. Yes.
Where's that coming from? Some of it might be desperation because they've been out of on lockdown and haven't had any money, or I don't know. But some
Well,
of
and yes, just some of the
they're
more,
not going to get punished.
yeah, some of the more
they think.
petty crimes and that kind of stuff, they know they're not getting punished for.
Well, what about the increase in homicides? Surely they think they're going to be punished for that.
Well, for the most part, homicides are, unless they're planned,
Yeah.
out, they're,
Yeah, that's true.
they're not really thinking about it. And, not thinking about the consequences in the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
The pressure cooker scenario.
yes, the pressure cooker scenario. Yeah. People's patience, people's nerves are just shot,
Yeah, I can imagine. Would more courts and judges be helpful to move cases through more quickly?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
It would be helpful to move things through more quickly. Yes.
Okay. How can we help the culture of policing evolve to its next iteration? And will there be a peaceful resolution to this problem? I mean, maybe, I guess, Eric, give us the long term, the long plan, the long game.
So
gonna happen?
so no, there's not going to be a peaceful resolution, because in order to get there, there's going to be crime and chaos. So it's not going to be a peaceful path to get there.
Oh, the path. Yeah.
Yes. But there will be. So what he's saying is, once the pendulum sort of swings back to a little bit more middle ground, you will see a lot of required trainings that aren't there now for the police,
Okay.
as far as like the mental health stuff and the community. You see a lot more community outreach stuff, the police going into the communities,
Okay.
and being involved and getting involved with like the leaders of communities that maybe they don't usually get involved with. So you'll see a lot more of that kind of stuff. There will also be like liaisons, like mental health liaisons. There will be an increase in people who work with the police, psychiatrists, this sort of thing, where there's more consistent consultations for prisoners and people being arrested, rather than just lumping them into a bucket of like, okay, well, this is what you did, so this is how long you go to jail for.
Yeah.
So you'll see stuff eventually will be literally on a more case by case basis. So the rich, white kid who gets arrested for raping a girl isn't going to be able to get away with it
Good.
like in the past. It will be less of the socioeconomic factor, but it's going to take a while to get there.
Okay, well, that maybe is just a sign of systemic racism. I mean,
There's
there are definitely more
definitely
people of color in prison or they get arrested. But is that, I think part of it is just injustice. I've
Yes.
seen. But
Yes.
part of it is that some of them do commit more crime if they're at the lower poverty level, for example, because it's harder to survive and they take a life of crime to
Yes,
meet-
survive, whatever. So Eric says that, yeah, the two big things are the poverty level and race.
Yeah.
They really are. It's, if you can afford to get away with crime, then you're going to be able to afford the best lawyer, not necessarily just whoever they
Yeah, there we
decide
go.
to
That's
give you.
another problem. Yeah.
Yes.
They get a
So
public defender who doesn't give a crap about them.
the
so.
public defender, who, even if they do give a crap, they have 50 other cases that they're, overworked
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
slips through the cracks. So yes, systemic racism is definitely an issue, but the poverty is also there. And those are two big issues that are, when we get to the other end of this, are actually going to be resolved in a fairly decent way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just bringing up the people from poverty, bringing them up to the middle class is going to really solve a lot of problems. And well, we've talked about a lot of solutions. What can we as individuals do? The only thing I can think of is, thought creates reality. And if we collectively think and send prayers to every part, people in every part of this equation, then maybe that would help.
That's absolutely a great thing to do, because really, for the most part, most people are sitting there thinking, well, what can I do? I can't, I'm not going to go to the police station. I'm not going to join the police academy. I'm not going to, I'm not going to become a social worker to help with this situation specifically. So just, I guess, sending love, sending prayers,
Yeah.
if you do see something, if you do see some sort of an injustice happening, everybody's got their phones, pull out cameras, recordings of stuff is a big thing that's going to help move us into the next level.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. So being able to record
shining a light on things. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's there's one more thing I was going to say. I can't remember. Well, hopefully it'll get better. Eric, you want to say anything else, or Jennifer, do you want to add anything?
So, what Erik is saying about this is, if you are somebody who is sitting here watching this and you are maybe committing some petty crimes and stuff like this, you're still developing karmic energy. Even if you are contributing to things getting better eventually, you are still maybe devolving your soul and where you are and what's happening to you. So he says, just think about what you're doing, and quite honestly, he says, if you're somebody out there who can't afford food and are stealing so that you can eat, this is maybe not such a bad karmic energy thing, because there are some people who have that in their contract that's.
Yeah.
But if you're just out there stealing for the rush of it or the high of it, you're eventually going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's in this lifetime or when you get to the other side or the next lifetime.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is he said, these things do hurt people. They are hurting people, even if it's just traumatizing the shop people who are in there when you go in for a smash and grab. You don't know, you might cause PTSD for a person and they don't function well the rest of their lives. I mean, you just think you're going in and just stealing it and nobody's hurting because, oh well, insurance will cover it and this sort of thing, but the actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Whether you ever get caught or not. So that's what he wanted.
Well, that's the vigilante thing of the shopkeeper shooting someone. That's a really tough one to swallow, because to kill someone for something like that,
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
maybe
it's
hit them in
what
the foot or something.
the problem's going to be is that people are going to feel helpless. And
Yeah,
when people feel helpless, they will take it into their own hands.
yeah.
And so we're going to see more vigilante crime.
Well, I was thinking one other thing we could do as individuals is for people who have time, join the Big Brother program, the Big Sister program, do mentoring. And I used to be in the reading program for
Yes.
people who couldn't speak English, that spoke Spanish anyway, and took them home, after school, and had them play with my kids and just, prevent them from going. So if you
Yeah.
could join community efforts, and there's so many volunteer
Yes.
opportunities. And for those people who are elderly or who are retired, that do have time to, volunteer in community centers and things like that,
Mhm.
especially in the inner cities, as scary as it is. That's another thing we can do as individuals, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I guess that's all for now. Eric, anything else?
Nope, he just says, I love you.
I love you too. And what was that? Was that an orb, Eric?
Yes, but it wasn't him though.
Okay.
So
Was it one of Jennifer's guides or something?
no, actually he says it was a pet.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it was a pet.
one of yours?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, actually, yes.
sweet. All right, y'all, check out Jennifer Doran at psychicmediumjenniferdoran.com. And please subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and share with anybody you think would be interested, which is everybody, right? And also be sure to check out, if you want some scalar energy healing, atlantiscalar.com. Love you all.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye, Jennifer.
Bye.